This is day 1534, and let's make sure that everything is working. Looks like everything is working very good. Okay, and let's start over again. Day 1534 days since Richard was betrayed by his leadership, and they carried out a code red on him. They murdered him, premeditatedly murdered him for reporting child trafficking, uh, kid trafficking. I wanted to really highlight that. We decided we really needed to highlight that because of all the evidence corroborating what Richard was absolutely reporting on to the Child Protective Services, to FBI Houston, to the IG, to he was in communications with the White House, he was in communications with CID, and we have so much corroborating uh, information now, hard evidence now that is being reported everywhere, uh, including Congress. And then, of course, I posted up the TikTok video of the longshoreman. Well, it's the man reporting on longshoremen, hearing voices, hearing calls for help from within the shipping containers, the tactical move storage units that we were told, um, and that we clearly see in the pictures from Google Earth of kilometer 29 that they had tactical move uh, storage units, otherwise known as shipping containers. And we know that there was a huge problem because of what Congress is reporting and their investigations, but also from DES Thomas Kane, who absolutely needs to be arrested. He absolutely has betrayed um, the American people and his office and everything when he was in, and he can't just retire, like let me just go retire. That's what these people do. They just retire, and they're total criminals, and they think that, they can get away with it without any accountability. But the floodgates have opened. The waters just got too powerful. And what are the waters? The evidence, the hard evidence that are corroborating everything that Richard was reporting on in 2019. Um, and of course, um, there was a lot of movement and all of that, but a lot of pushback. We know that Mealy was absolutely is absolutely culpable, is absolutely part of the criminal network. We know that because of the Afghanistan debacle. We know that there is no excuse at all to leave behind the night vision technology goggles that the Army had over the entire world. And he left them behind in Afghanistan. There's no excuse to leave our advantage, uh, the advantage that saves the lives of our service members. And he left that technology behind so that anybody could backwards engineer that technology and have it for themselves and put at risk our service members. That's a really big deal, and that's not me saying it. That's me reading through Ted Cruz's report on that. Ted Cruz is the one that pointed that out, that they left behind our technology. our night vision goggles. And that really impacted us because, how hard is it to pack up that technology and put it on the huge, beautiful planes that we have? Um, there's no excuse. Uh, Millie had no excuse for his failure of leadership, and he needs to be arrested also and stripped of every benefit, and he cannot be associated with our beautiful uniforms and our beautiful stars. He just cannot be. We have a beautiful system. We have a magnificent constitution. Texas has a beautiful constitution, a magnificent constitution that gives so many rights and freedoms to the people and holds the criminal leadership accountable. And we just, instead of throwing our hands up while looking at all of these criminals, we need to assert our power that the constitutions give us, right? That our Constitution gives us. We need to assert the law. And this is what I've been trying to tell Yvonne Rosales, the duly elected district attorney for the Judicial District in El Paso, Texas, that was usurped, that they, it's kind of like what happened in 2020 with the election. We all know that they they manipulated and tampered and interfered with the election. And I know that absolutely 100%. All you have to do is look at the Walmart mass shooting. And that was election interference. And what they did to Yvonne Rosales, because she was actually doing her job, um, and, holding to account the distribution of the Walmart mass shooting victims' funds to see if they were doing it correctly, which apparently they weren't. Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia received tens of thousands of dollars, and I think others too. That because it was an orchestrated, bloody mass shooting that we know Patrick Crucius could never have done on his own, never. And I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm saying he could never have done this on his own. And it's come out now this week that we were right, right? We've been right since at least, I found multiple records of me mentioning that he has autism since December 2023. We have October 2024 right now. And are you telling me that Bill Hicks didn't know that, what a liar. He's a big fat liar. And Joe Spencer is even worse because he's supposed to be defending Patrick Crucius. I mean, with a defense attorney like him, who needs an enemy? Who needs a prosecutor with a defense attorney like him? Because he knew this from the very get-go, and he let his client plead guilty for maximum, really, just under the death penalty, 1,000 years in prison at the Alcatraz of the Rockies prison that he's supposed to go to. And he has, absolutely no trial, no, no defense attorney making a case for him. And with all of the evidence that there were multiple shooters, the green tip bullets, the brown tip bullets, the whole testimony of Glennon Oakley Jr., the testimony now, he was found dead in his barracks room on Fort Bliss. No Richard, because Richard knew things. No, no FBI, expert witness. Julio Cordero, his suspicious killing. Then you have the victims that were shot twice in the chest. How can an AK-47 shoot someone twice in the chest or twice in the abdomen and then they live to tell about it? Where is Ernest Christopher Grant, the media sweetheart that was shot twice in the abdomen by AK-47 to live through that? Where is he? Um, you know, testifying and saying, look, this is where I'm at. And he's suing Walmart. He's part of the Walmart suing case. This sounds more like greed on every front, an orchestrated money grab, cash grab, than anything else. And it's bloody because absolutely people were killed. And that's very interesting too when you look at who was killed and you know that the autopsy reports have been tampered with because we have a criminal as a chief medical examiner. He's illegal, right? And where's the media reporting on this? Because it's not just us that has this information, that has the hard evidence, that has the circumstantial evidence, that has the story behind why the chief medical examiner is illegal and why Bill Hicks is a usurper and why the criminal magistrate court is is criminal because the judges for that very distinct court with county-wide jurisdiction must be elected and they're not. And that botches that whole court, okay? Because those judges on that distinct court with full county-wide jurisdiction must have some kind of restraint on them, as said by the Texas Constitution. Therefore, they need to be elected. They need to answer to the very people that they are going to be judging over, ruling over, arraigning, all kinds of, controlling, get this, controlling investigations. And you know how much that means to us. We've had to be the investigators. We were told by the special agent in charge, Marlon Soto Hernandez, that we had to be the investigators for our son's case. We had to bring the leads, and we have, we've been going through the paperwork, rereading through their criminal activities. Really, our letters from 2020 and 2021 and 2022 and 2023 and 2024, the responses that we got back, that's all hard evidence. Matter of fact, we just have evidence corroborating when Tavita Nusa lost his badge through these letters, through from Marlon Soto's written word. So it's he can't say that he didn't lose his badge, right? Which they've tried to put out this narrative, and the media doesn't want to cover this huge, huge story that absolutely shows the failure of leadership when it comes to judges, when it comes to even a judicial office as important as the chief medical examiner, and of course the district attorney, the prosecutor, and they're doing a puff piece on him. El Paso Times needs to be ashamed of themselves because we have absolutely let them know everything about Bill Hicks, and yet for money, they'll sell their soul to the devil, and that's what they've done. They've sold their soul to the devil, and and God is not going to look on that kindly. Um, it's not going to be nice for them. It's not going to be nice. Uh, it's really hell. It's going to be hell for them, and they think that they can make a deal with the devil to get out of their financial troubles because a lot of the media are in trouble with with the way the politics is going and the retaliation, they feel like they're not free. They don't have the free speech to really tell the stories. Otherwise, they would be telling Richard's story. They would be telling the story of the usurper Bill Hicks. They would be telling the story of Veronica Escobar's connections to an illegal judicial officer, Chief Medical Examiner Mario Raskin Ortiz. They would be telling the story about how Joanne Bernal, read the tea leaves and hit the trail, got out of Dodge, right? Got out of Dodge real quick, before her was even over, and so they would absolutely. The most important is saying, look, we need to report on how the votes of the people are being denied because these judges need to be elected. And these individuals that are putting on a robe and putting a hammer in their hand and making all these judgments from a bench of the El Paso Law Magistrate Court need to be arrested because they have no power to even abuse, right? They don't even have power to abuse. Um, they have no legal right to even sit on the bench, to even have the robe on, to even have the gavel in their hand. And, uh, and that explains why Leilani Hart is not arrested, why James Hart is not arrested, because uh, you know, uh, don't forget, and why Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, is not arrested, because they were engaged in crimes against children, and more. Because when you have that kind of crimes against children, and you have, um, a mentality, a criminal mind, which, Leilani Hart is a confirmed convicted criminal. Um, Dallas Hart was getting in trouble, and then they let him go green to gold. It just tells you that there is definitely, it's who you know, right? It's who you know. Did he know, or did Clem Coward know him? Right? Did Leilani Hart know Clem Coward, or and did Clem Coward know her very well, and Dallas Hart very well? And we have confirmation they absolutely did. So you have this leadership, and now, get this, General Eisenhower, Major General Eisenhower, is being protected. He's under the wing of Lieutenant General Matlock, Patrick Matlock, who, I don't mention his name very much, but because I've never met him. He never communicated with us, even though he was there before Sean Bernabe. He was there with, and to get these 3 stars, by covering up a code red premeditated murder after retaliation of a soldier that you are obligated to care for, and yet, an unjust retaliation that is continuous and severe, and then order, his murder, and then cover up, um, by hurting his body, and disturbing, um, dismembering his remains and dishonoring his remains, to hide the major evidence of the code of murder, because he's whistleblowing on the kid trafficking. He has information on the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting. He has, information, um, along with, Glennon Oakley Jr. And now you have this very suspicious death at the El Paso ISD, the very place that Amber Chase, who, if you open up your dictionary and you look up the words vile and vulgar, it would be her face. It would be her face. She's just that vile and vulgar. Um, and she works at El Paso ISD. Now, if your child goes to El Paso ISD, uh, I know that's a scary, scary thought. And, this is October. This is, everyone's preparing for Halloween. I'm sorry. I would not want my child to go to school, where Miss Vile and Vulgar is, right? And so there's been a shakeup because of this um, very suspicious killing of the FBI agent. Now, he was the expert witness for the Walmart mass shooting. And, so it is absolutely connected to Richard's case. We put in complaints now about it because the very Texas Ranger that was supposed to be investigating the vile and vulgar actions of Amber Chase and others, um, is has conflicts of interest there with the El Paso Independent School District, and and there's connections with the Hart family, and of course with Nadal Bayim. Um, so these conflicts of interest are huge. They're not, um, you can't, it has to be part of the case now. You can't just say, oh, that's just something little. No, this is really big, big news. And, and then you say, oh, no wonder um, Lalani Hart can admit to having child porn and not get arrested, right? That Richard's platoon leader, Lalani Hart's son, Dallas Hart, was rushing back from his deployment to find the child corn, so to protect himself. The way they have to cover up constantly must be exhausting for them, must be absolutely exhausting. And all of this information with Clem Coward, all of this information with Sean Bernabe, with Eisenhower being under Matlock's wings right now. And of course, um, you have um, Donna Martin, the IG, uh, being so bad as provost marshal, and then being IG, and she's supposed to be investigating herself, but let me make the provost marshal the IG, right, the inspector general. And um, it's such a cover up of failed leadership, and not just failed leadership. I want everyone to understand this is not just failed leadership. This is a criminal network that is absolutely trafficking and committing fraud, waste, and abuse. They're up to no good, and they're doing it for financial gain instead of protecting our Constitution and meeting their obligations to care for their soldiers, our volunteer sons and daughters, and creating, they're failing on purpose to create a disciplined force with esprit de corps for the defense of this country. And the system now is not the problem. The system is not the problem. The problem is the criminals that have infiltrated into the system. And that means there needs to be accountability. And we need to make accountability the norm. You screw with the United States, you're going to be held accountable. And we are being infiltrated by enemies, those that are serving foreign and domestic enemies even if it's themselves with greed to pad their pockets for financial gain, to sell out what Americans have entrusted into these leaderships when it comes to um, property, when it comes to um, weapons, when it comes to ammunition, when it comes to um, the safety of their soldiers, the safety and security of our military installations, when it comes to our secrets. There's no, you know, sorry, you cannot be a four-star general and be so stupid as to leave behind night vision goggles, our technology, which he absolutely knows it was our technology, and gave us an advantage against any other military. And he left them behind to be reversed engineered. Sorry, he has to be stripped. That was intentional. There's no other way to put it. And I think that Americans are finally seeing through what is actually happening, and that whole Afghanistan debacle. That was, I believe that the reason why they didn't bring it back and is because they sold it. Because I understand what was happening with Dallas Hart with the computers. We've got, the witnesses that he was using other people's computers to do their little fraud, and and that they were absolutely trying to cash in on their fraud, waste, and abuse. And while engaged in incest, while engaged in crimes against children, while engaged in up to no good, right? In so many different ways. And of course, with the car, the Mercedes and all of this with, Nadal Bayim, there's all connections. And then, of course, selling the bullets to El Paso Police Department. Um, the fraud is just endless. It's out of sight. It needs to be held accountable. They're messing with us, y'all. And we have grown soft in accountability. That is the problem is not our Constitution. The problem is not our system. Yes, we could. They've grown our system. We can bring it back down, right? We can shrink it and make it a fine working machine. But the problem is not our system. We've have done very, very well when we hold criminals accountable. It is these last years where we do not hold criminals accountable. And that's why the death penalty needs to be on the table for this, because the treason is huge. The treason is huge. They tampered with elections, y'all. They denied the people elections. They carried out a code red murder of a volunteer young soldier that saw something, reported something, and they retaliated against him, making the entire atmosphere on Fort Bliss shaky. Okay? Fear. The entire atmosphere. And I know it because I was there and I witnessed it. And they were so afraid. The atmosphere, and I'm not saying 100%, I'm saying the atmosphere. You could feel the spirit of fear. You could feel the spirit of shaky in your boots, the trembling and the gnashing of teeth. You could feel that spirit. The spirit was not esprit de corps. The spirit was one of, I've got to just shut up and get through this, and shaking and hope that I don't get retaliated against, and I have to go along with the crime that I know is happening. And so you saw that with Anthony Swafford, the MP. He's an MP. You saw him brazen, like, I know what kind of character Richard is. And then, like when he finds out that that was all a lie given by, the um, given by, I think, the CID going to the guard mount, right, and giving this false story to the MPs through the guard mount. This failed leadership to make, those MPs, like so brazen, and in a very criminal way, because I don't care what soldier is missing, they have a duty to find them. And, it's just because that's absolutely what has to be done. And that was the problem at Fort Hood, right? Now Fort Cavazos, is that they had Morales go missing and they just let him be missing, but he didn't go missing. He was murdered. And they wanted that to happen with Vanessa Guillen too. They didn't want to look for her, right? They didn't want to find her. They knew she had been murdered. They absolutely knew she had been murdered because they acted in a cover up mode way. It was a spirit of cover up. And it was because of the community that got together that they forced it through. And then as soon as they found the Pelican case that had carried her remains, they called off the search instead of doubling up, tripling up to in that area to search. They called the search off, and it wasn't the CID that search that found Vanessa Guillen's body. It was wild animals that was digging around the concrete that had been because of odor, and linemen saying, "What are all those animals doing there?" And finding her remains under concrete, under lime, under the, in a and dismembered. And it was CID should have found her, right? They were that close. It was very close to where they found the where um, Texas EquiSearch had found the Pelican case. They were very close, but they called off the search, y'all. They called off the search when they found hard evidence, and because it had her DNA on it. Um, so they are absolutely criminal leadership, criminal leadership. And we know through our witnesses that they did not want to have another Guillen situation, quote unquote. Um, and Richard absolutely was another Guillen situation, a code red murder. He was reporting the trafficking. He was the child trafficking. He was reporting even more. He had, a young mind that wanted to be a criminal investigator. Okay, that's what he wanted to be, and I know, how he thought because he was homeschooled. He was homeschooled, and we um, so that's why I knew that they were lying, and all the documents that we have is corroborating evidence to the lies that they had. I called it a smear campaign, to launch a smear campaign on my son, Richard, and he is really a hero. And we will, Rob and I, we will absolutely. We've just gotten started, because what we need is accountability. That's what we don't have and that we need. And that wave of accountability started Sunday on Saint Michael the Archangel and all the angels. That day is when we started the wave of accountability. And a lot has happened this week. I'm not at liberty to say it. Just know, you know, celebrate that there is accountability going on. And we will thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on, and your prayers and your love. And we're getting there. And it has been, I'm not going to tell you it's been easy. It's been very, very difficult. It's every day. It's every day. And files and files and files and files of documenting everything and then getting it to the right agencies, and then even maintaining a hopeful spirit when you don't get results that you want. You know, you get these letters back that are absolutely, you know, you feel like you're not going anywhere. But you've got to keep filing and filing and filing until the water pressure gets, you know, who knows what it needs to, what the magic number is, right? But the water has to rise and get so powerful and churn up that the floodgates are forced to open. And then you have the wave of accountability going down into the swamp to wash out the swamp of the Mealys and the McConvilles and the Bernabys and the Matlocks and the Eisenhowers and the Martins and the Harts and the Howells and I want to say the Howells, okay, because it's not just CID agent Todd Howell from Quantico. It is the Howells, and they have conflicts of interest with the Harts, you know, and it is just absolutely, you know, when you see the swamp get washed off, you know, and you see them for what they are, it's even uglier. It's even uglier than when they were just covered with the swamp. Um, so because you see the treason, you see that they will do anything for financial gain, that they will sell out children to be killed. And this is the absolute, that they will sell out children to be trafficked, to be put in the worst places in the world alone, unaccompanied, y'all, unaccompanied, from who knows how young to 17 years old. Unaccompanied in the worst places and the worst things happening to them. This is what the Howells and the Harts and the Generals and the, you know, government, those that are cooperating with these demons that have sold their soul out to the devil, what they are doing to the children. And they're mostly dead. These children wind up dead after the worst things happen to them, and alone, unaccompanied. I mean, if they have a sibling with them, that might give them a little, but you know, unaccompanied, come on. These are the worst type of people. Those that exploit children unto death, unto the worst things, and then death. And to use it, to do it with taxpayers' money, and to pocket that taxpayers' money on top of whatever they're making for the evil that's done to these children. And you hear it all the time from the likes of Graham, Lindsey Graham, or you know, mine, William Timmons, or uh, Veronica Escobar, or Beto O'Rourke, or whatever. The children. We've got to help the children. Oh, children. And yet, they are absolutely culpable. And worse. And worse. They lie. I know for a fact that William Timmons lied through his teeth to get elected again. Misrepresented himself to the ends of his hair. From the tips of his toes to the ends of his hair, he misrepresented himself to the voters. It was the most disgusting thing to see. And I know right now that El Paso Times has put up a puff piece on the usurper Bill Hicks, and y'all, it's just disgusting to see a newspaper that could be so fine, that could be such a blessing, sell themselves out to the devil and have to put out a puff piece for some money in their pocket about a usurper that has brought hell to El Paso. Absolutely hell to El Paso. Millions of dollars spent on the Walmart mass shooting case for nothing. The takedown of a duly elected district attorney, Yvonne Rosales. The cover-up of of a whistleblower soldier on Fort Bliss, Richard Halliday. And also, I believe the cover-up of what happened to so many, including Glennon Oakley Jr. This is Bill Hicks. Okay? He is rotten to the core. No puff piece should ever be written for him. And yet there it is. So I think it's our duty, and anyone that's listening to this, to make sure that you let the voters know that they are being, I would call it a false witness of Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks is a usurper. He is doing it for financial gain. This whole Walmart, we have, and this is not me. Remember Loretta Lynn Hewitt? She was in charge, hired to be in charge of the case. And she said she was told that that case was only political. That they were playing politics with that case. That it should not be moved forward. And she wouldn't have any of it, thank God. Thank God she didn't sell out her soul to the devil. Thank God. That there is, matter of fact, put her name down. She needs a huge award for being, an ethical attorney. How rare is that? How rare is that? It's very, very rare. And as these demon criminals need to be held accountable, the heroes that called out Leilani Hart, that called out Tavita Nusa, that called out Nadal Baim, that called out the child trafficking, that called out because it wasn't us, y'all, that called out the chief medical examiner. That was another amazing person. and those that expose Bill Hicks and those that exposed the election denial of the criminal law magistrate court. Thousands of cases botched, thousands of cases, including Patrick Crusius, including Richard Halliday. And all of those that did the right thing, that didn't sell out their soul, they need to be the ones that reap the rewards. That's how America works. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how the system is supposed to work. And so the failure is the accountability, is the backbone to strip these evil demon criminals from their benefits, because that's what they like to do. They like to take advantage of our goodwill and our system, and and then just take advantage of it, right? And so we need to hold them accountable, and we need to strip them from any kind of benefit at all. Um, go, well, some of them need to face the death penalty. Some of them need to go to jail, and some, well, you know, uh, anyway, um, I have my thoughts on where they need to go. Um, you can fill that in. You can fill that in because of what they have failed to do, and the crime and the vile and vulgar crime they did to us, especially to Richard, and to the children, to so many children. And I haven't even touched on the weapons. And, when you hear uh, a TikTok saying, "Oh, those longshoremen, they don't want to tell the truth," that they're hearing, calls for help from the storage units, the shipping units. Um, that is so heartbreaking. That is just absolutely. How can we not do anything? And in the midst of the playing politics with what's happening in my neck of the woods with Helena, the storm, and how that ravaged through. And we have, a couple people come to our house today. They still don't have electricity. And, this is, uh, it's just the linemen are working as hard as they come there, as hard as they can in this area, um, but they need to be able to get to the people in the ravaged area. And now we're hearing that there is many dead that should have been saved. And it's just pray for all of that and raise some hell, meaning write letters. um, I have to be very careful, because I'm not advocating any kind of violence. I'm absolutely saying get your pencil and paper out, and then type it into, and you can find a way how you do it. I write notes, and then I uh, perfected the way that we write our letters day in and day out. I've been getting good at writing, and very quick at it, um, putting it together. And there's programs that you can put it through for grammar, and you still have to edit it and make sure it says everything that you want it to say legally and everything. But you can do it pretty quick, and write letters to your congressman about these Americans that are really being forgotten. And I see some a big rally that's going to happen. Is it today or tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow, or it's already. We're burning the midnight oil. So today, there's going to be a big rally for it, and there's a GoFundMe. We're helping out through our church, because we have a congregation that's in the middle of all of this. So uh, absolutely, our leadership cannot uh, get into position because they know the right people or they're going to be the right puppet. Um, it's the same thing with the media. You cannot be a reporter or whatever just because of who your daddy is, who your mommy is, and not do the work, not do the honest reporting that is required. Um, we have to hold all of these professions accountable to be the best and to be ethical, and to be moral, and we really have to punish those that sell themselves out to the devil. Uh, that is causing so many deaths, so much pain, and so much death. And people go, why do bad things happen? Because we're not holding these criminals accountable. That's why. We're not holding, and that goes to the medical system. People are saying, oh, well, why are bad things happening? Because our medical system also, it needs a real good accountability go through, right? So, yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for sharing. Um, that that is We're so powerful because we have the Constitution. This is a nation under God, right? And the Bible that is so beautiful. It's God's word through and through. Um, is is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that is what John Wycliffe wrote. And Abraham Lincoln took that and said, this is a government under God, right? He meant under God, of the people, by the people, for the people. And the Constitution is that those rights that God gives us, right? The rights that God gives us is outlined. Of course, you can read the Bible. It's a medium-sized book. Anybody can read it. If you go and look at the laws they have right now, it's buildings upon buildings upon buildings. Nobody even reads a law that they pass because it's so long, it's so complicated, whatever, and it's meant to not be followed, right? Because they're lawless. They pass laws to not follow, to be lawless, right? But when you have one medium-sized book and you can um, uh, express it in the Constitution, the rights of the people under God, so that they can govern themselves by the people, of the people, for the people, then you understand that when God says He has given us power to become the sons of God, right? He's given us the power, because He's giving us that knowledge of what is good and bad, and what we need to hold people accountable for. And He's given us these courts of law. And that's why in these courts of law you saw Moses with the Ten Commandments. And we can do a trial. Let's hear it. Let's have one or two witnesses. And if you don't have your one or two witnesses, you're innocent until proven guilty. And Patrick Crucius didn't get that. These children didn't get that. They're victims. Patrick Crucius didn't get it. He was plea dealed into 1,000 years into the Alcatraz of the Rockies, and he has autism. Now, with the defense, and he was magistrated and arraigned by an individual that had no rights to do that to him. And when he was arrested, his rights weren't even read to him, and his hands weren't even bagged for evidence. And he wasn't even given a mental health evaluation because our system is not a firing squad. Our system gives, uh, is pro life. Let this person be innocent until proven guilty. Let's hear it. Let's have one or two witnesses. And there are. I don't know where Ernest Christopher Grant is and this other mother that got shot twice in the chest, and then Ernest Christopher Grant twice, in the abdomen, and they both lived. And of course, they would never forget who shot them. And Ernest Christopher Grant was talking to. He wasn't gagged. He wasn't gagged, and the gag order is a joke. Everybody's breaking the gag order. The gag order was only for Yvonne Rosales, only to take down Yvonne Rosales. Everyone else, including Judge Madrano, has broken the gag order. So, uh, it's obvious that the witnesses that witnessed multiple shooters, the witnesses that witnessed shots in the mall, because there's still witnesses out there, y'all. Glennon Oakley Jr. wasn't alone, right? So there's witnesses, and they don't want they don't want the court. So that means they're usurping our system. And Joe Spencer, to me, what he did, this cash grab, millions of dollars, he needs to be arrested. I mean, we need to have a good accounting of hold these criminals accountable for the level of crime and the level of damage they have done to our system. To disrespect our system like they have, to disrespect victims, to disrespect whistleblowers. I mean, to carry out a code red on a whistleblower, I mean, come on, that's treason. That is such a disrespect of everything, that why our system is there. And if they have no respect for the United States, then they're serving foreign and domestic enemies. Because their disrespect was on purpose. It was intentional. I mean, they missed with witnesses. They made people shaking. They intimidated people. They intimidated our military. This is a national threat, a national security threat, right? So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And just know that all your work is paying off. It's been one heck of a day, y'all. Again, things are happening behind the scenes. I'm not at liberty to say yet. It's coming. I wish I could make it go a little quicker. 4 years of doing this, it's like, oh God, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? It's happening. It's happening. Know that it is happening. And soon you're going to hear, it's just, we're working very hard to give Yvonne Rosales a chance to come back. She needs to come back. What was done to her was so damaging to her, but was damaging to the people that voted for her. And that means it was damaging to our system of for the people, by the people, of the people, right? And we really want to undo that wrong. And so we don't need her to come back. We want her to come back. And yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. And um I don't even know if I should say that because the enemy is so well, let me tell you, the enemy is after her. You can see it in everything that they write. Um and that's why it would be so beautiful um for her to just stand up to these really evil devils. I don't know what else to call them. So, God bless you all.